band name, Gunshine. And I read the reply and I was like, oh, this is so great. So, do you want to tell the audience how the band came together with their name?
Yeah, so yeah, for the band name. Well, it's funny because there's a lot of bands that are based out of LA and everything like that. I mean, I used to live in LA for a little while, but we're from Florida actually. So the band's technically based out of Pensacola, Florida, and we had basically recorded the first album already, and we still didn't have a band name. So everybody, of course, is throwing different names into the group chat. And honestly, that's the hardest thing to do is come up with a band name. So it's like in the beginning stages, like nothing sounds good. Everything kind of sounds stupid. So, uh, but we were all throwing in different ideas, and I was trying to think of things that reflected where we're from, Florida. So um, I saw on the internet it was like sometimes Florida is referred to as the Gunshine State because Florida's the Sunshine State and it's shaped like a gun. So I thought that was kind of unique and interesting. And again, there's so many bands from LA or big cities, New York or whatever. I just thought it was cool that we're kind of from a small town in Florida and just trying to think of different things that would reflect where we're from. So.
Yes, well, I think it's very clever and I like it a lot. I had also read that you did spend some time in California, but you were there for the Music Institute. So you're a graduate. I think the year was 2017.
Mhm.
So tell me about how you got there.
Yeah, so when I was about 22, it was just something I kind of wanted to do for a while. I saw like the ads popping up, and I saw all the videos on YouTube of people that went there, and just the thought of living in LA just seemed like a dream come true. You know, it just seemed like this big extravagant thing, and I just kind of knew living out there would just provide a lot of spark and a lot of different opportunity and stuff, along with everything that I'd get to learn by going to MI. Of course, all the teachers are world class, amazing. All the people you meet people from all around the world when you're going there too. But yeah, it was an incredible experience. I mean, the program was only like a year and a half that I did, but it flew by just because of all the excitement and everything going on. I remember like my fiance and we lived together right on in this apartment right on Hollywood Boulevard, and it was right next to the bowling alley Lucky Strike, and they would have like jam nights and stuff on Monday night. There'd be like Steve Vai playing or Richie Kotzen or something like that. So it's just like where else can you go on a Monday night like walking distance and go see these amazing players and stuff like that. So it was an incredible experience, and it kind of brought me my touring gig that I got that allowed me to create Gunshine and everything. So yeah, it was awesome.
That's so great. So before you got there, what was your experience with music? Did you just grow up playing guitar, or how did that all come about?
Yeah, I started playing guitar. I was like about 7 or 8. My parents got me a guitar, just kind of acoustic guitar laying around the house in case I ever wanted to pick it up. And because they're both really into music and stuff. My dad actually plays bass and he's a sound guy, audio guy as well. So um, always had music on, always playing different things. But they kind of got me a guitar just in case I wanted to pick it up. And then I think I was about 7 or 8 and started getting lessons. And just I don't know what it was. I think there was like a concert or something on TV, and I was like, I want to do that. So I got lessons, and then but I didn't really take it super seriously until about 17, and that's when I started like playing out in bars and stuff like that, making money. So down where we're from, like I said, in Pensacola, there's a lot of cover bands. There's a lot of, because you get all the like the spring break party crowd and stuff like that. So you could do, um, you can really, like I said, play a lot of different cover gigs, make good money doing that. But that's kind of I did that for 17 till I was 22, and it honestly it was just like after a while, it's like okay, I'm ready to kind of do something else, and that's what led me to go to LA, and go to MI, and I've always been into songwriting. I've always been into creating my own music, so that was just something I've always really wanted to do was to be able to do that. So eventually had to leave the cover scene, but it was really good. Like I said, to kind of get your start.
I know a few people that have attended Berkeley, and I'm always curious about this question. Your musical influences before you went to a music school. and then your musical influences after attending. Did that change drastically for you, or did it really stay the same?
Oh, I mean, there was always yeah, influences and stuff. I mean, just the teachers alone were just like world class musicians. You would just hear amazing music all the time. So I was definitely creating. Actually, a lot of the first Gunshine record I created while I was living in California at the time. So, um, yeah, I had a little, like I said, studio apartment, and my setup was in like the closet, you know. So it was like, but I would go in there and just create stuff, and like I said, just being in that environment, I was always inspired, and so definitely, I mean, I feel like just being in LA and being out there in general was a big inspirational thing.
So, for the audience sake, Gunshine to me sounds hard rock, a little heavy rock. How would you describe it?
Yeah, it's definitely got the hard rock edge. It's almost I think in my head I was kind of trying to combine like the edginess of like say like a AC/DC or something, but with a more like poppy melodic kind of approach. I've always been into melodies and like catchy, big choruses and stuff like that. I mean, I'm a '90s kid, so I was growing up on like boy bands and like Backstreet Boys and Avril Lavigne and all that stuff. I was hearing all the time. So, um, but aside from that, just like the really catchy '80s songs with, like I said, I mean, take like an Aussie song for example. There's always like a big chorus, and I was always drawn to like melodies and stuff. So it's really like trying to combine the melody with the hard rock edgy kind of attitude.
So, this is another question for you, which I found like I need to ask him. There was a lot documented on you being in a band called New Year's Day and then Gunshine.
Yeah.
So, was that like your first band, or where's the transition with that?
Yeah, so it all kind of ties into what we were talking about with MI. So when I graduated at the end of 2017, it was actually really good timing. I The opportunity came up to audition for New Year's Day, and they were opening for Hailstorm on this tour. So it was technically my first real tour, and it was in arenas. So I was really fortunate for that, really grateful. And I toured with them for about 3 years, and I've been to Europe twice and Australia, and uh, played arenas all across the country with them. So it was an amazing experience, and definitely very humbled that I got to do that. But for me, just being a songwriter, it was always, I always wanted to kind of have my own band, always wanted to have something where I had my, creative outlet. So that vision kind of got put on hold a little bit while I was with New Year's Day, but I was also manifesting. I was working on Gunshine stuff behind the scenes, even while I was touring with New Year's Day, just because that was such a passion to create music and get these ideas that were in my head, try to get them out. So if I was in dressing rooms or something like that on tour, I would have my laptop with me, and I'd be putting the ideas down, and any little like spare time, I would try to work on what it is that actually became Gunshine. But like I said, it was an amazing experience, and I got all my touring experience, and it really taught me a lot. But but yeah, it was great. It was a great transition to go straight from graduating to MI to get to like play in arenas. So it was awesome.
So, to be paired with a band like Hailstorm is pretty amazing in itself. So tell me what it was like. Like, did you learn anything from the band Hailstorm, or did they have certain things, about how they would perform that maybe you picked up as an individual, not just being with another band?
100%. Yeah, their whole operation is like just super professional. From the crew to the band to the way they conduct themselves backstage, and like they're such a class act. So yeah, you definitely learn stuff from them, and I mean just how to perform, how to act, everything. We also toured with like Godsmack, In This Moment, Falling in Reverse. So it was awesome. I got to see a lot of different bands. I got to see how people did things, and it really taught me a lot that I was able to carry into kind of creating my own thing. So it was yeah, it was an amazing 3 years or whatever it was. So
So somewhere in the middle of that, I think we had COVID. because I was trying to find the timeline, and it was like, oh, you were playing with New Year's Day, and then something got involved with COVID. So I
Hmm.
think that's how that kind of ended for you, right? Because they
Yeah,
stopped touring.
absolutely. Yes. It's all like the timeline. So I went to MI, graduated from MI at the end of 2017, and then got the touring gig with New Year's Day and did all, I did that from, let's see, end of, or beginning of, I think it was beginning of 18 all the way until the COVID thing happened. And then with that, I mean, we were in Europe when like the outbreak started happening. And, I remember it being on the news and everything while we were touring, and we were supposed to play Milan, Italy, as the last show of that Europe tour, and it actually got canceled because that was where like the first really bad outbreak happened. So then we had to fly home a couple days early from Germany, and I mean we got home 2 days before the world shut down. So it was wild. And then yeah, when I got home, it was like everybody, the whole touring world got put on halt. So, but the silver lining was that it allowed me to really take a step back because we were supposed to do so much touring after that. We were going to be going to Australia again and everything like that. So it was really, when the COVID thing happened, it really allowed me to further try to get this vision that I had off the ground and get my kind of creative thing going. And that's why I started the band.
So maybe a little thank you to Gunshine with COVID, because it looks like it kind of pushed you in that direction probably sooner than
Mhm.
if COVID didn't happen. It could have been
Yes.
even delayed further. Wow.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct, because I
Yeah.
was so busy touring. So it was like I was always trying to audition singers. That was the biggest holdup. Was like I was really trying to find a singer that had like an X Factor voice, something that was whether you loved it or hated it, it was you're gonna know that it's us, and something that stood out. So, I mean, I auditioned singers all across the country during this whole time span that I was going to MI. During the time span I was with New Year's Day, all this stuff. I was kind of like behind the scenes trying to work on all this stuff and auditioning singers and but it all kind of brought me full circle because when the COVID thing happened, it brought me back home to Pensacola, and that's where I met Jordan, our singer. So not in LA, not of course I thought I was going to meet like somebody out there or whatever, but of course it's like go back to your hometown, and then someone's like, hey, you should meet this guy. He plays in the dueling piano bar, and I think he would sound good for what you're trying to do. So sure enough, yeah, he came over and we had an instant chemistry. So it's crazy.
That's great. So just so the audience knows, that's Jordan Benson. And I had read that he's a distant cousin to Elvis Presley.
Yeah, I mean he'd be able to explain it a little bit better than me, but it's one of those things where it's like I want to say it's like Elvis's um let's see. Elvis's grandma's brother is like Jordan's great great grandfather or something like that. So it's like it's kind of deep in the lineage, but it's definitely legit. I mean, we went like one time on tour. We went and had dinner with his part of his family in Tupelo, Mississippi. So I'm like, okay, this is all it all checks out.
Yes, Tupelo. That is definitely a Elvis reference for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
I wanted to discuss your songs, and before the interview, we had talked about one of the songs being a story that Jordan tells on stage. So I think that song is called Swing Away. So do you want to give a little bit of the backstory and then tell the audience how the song comes about? Because you really are one of the main people that does do the lyrics, right?
So I tend to be kind of like I think my strength is I'm really into like vocal melodies. So I kind of like hum out the melody a lot like in my phone or something like that, and I'll kind of like scat out kind of hum different like syllables or just kind of like random nonsense like words or whatever. And then Jordan and I will sit together and kind of write the lyrics together based on usually we kind of will try to match it to like what it is that I'm humming out. So if it's give it away, it might be swing away, stuff like that. So that was a song where I had the melodies kind of figured out ahead of time, and like I said, had the voice memo. I keep the voice memo app on my phone and have tons of song ideas saved in there. So I had the chorus melody and the verses and stuff in my phone, and then kind of wrote the riffs and stuff around that. So I had that kind of figured out. But then Jordan kind of came in separately, and had this thing going on. You know, sometimes we write about things that are going on in our personal life. Other times we're just trying to like paint a picture or like some kind of vibe or something like that. But in this case, it was like a personal story for Jordan. He was dealing with something like his grandmother had passed away, and he believed that there was some foul play at hand. And you know, he even like hired a private investigator and all this stuff. So he tells the story on stage all the time, and it's pretty crazy. So the lyrics hit pretty deep and intense when when you realize that. So it was just a special song how it came together.
That's amazing. I also find that fans, it's not always the sound of the song, but it's how the song feels to them. And then getting the backstory, especially if it's personal to the band, probably promotes that song even further for the fan base.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's incredible. So, what we're going to do now is we're going to drop in this song. This is Swing Away by Gunshine. So right here, my audio engineer will drop it in. Okay.
Perfect.
All right, good. Wow. So you guys are really amazing. Can you just tell the members of all the band individually by name and what their talents are and how you actually got them in order to join the band?
Yeah. So I play lead guitar and do a lot of vocals and stuff as well, like background vocals. And Jordan Benson, he's our lead singer. He also plays piano. He actually played harmonica. He did a harmonica solo on the newest album. So he can play a little bit of guitar and stuff as well. He plays several different instruments. And then we got Jake Tripp, who is from North Carolina, actually. And I met him through our tour manager in New Year's Day, actually. So we were needing a bass player, and he was like, I know a guy, because he's from North Carolina as well. So he's like, I know a guy, from here. I think he'd be a good fit. And so Jake is into like, Metallica and a lot of like new metal and stuff like that as well. But yeah, he's killer. So whenever we tour and stuff, those guys fly down, him and the drummer, Tommy. So met Tommy. He just joined, I think it was October of 2024. And he's a friend of Jake. So it was a lot of like, this person knows that person. But yeah, Jordan and I kind of started the band, from the ground up. But then Jake and Tommy joined more recently, and those guys have been slaying it as well.
That's great. I always like, especially since um, part of being in a band is to have camaraderie. And, you see bands that are out there playing, 40, 50 years later, and most of them are still the original, members.
Definitely.
And you have to really get along to
Yeah,
think you're going to hang out for 40 years or something. So
absolutely. Oh, definitely.
that's great. I wanted to bring up another song, Meet You There. Tell me about that one.
Yeah, so this kind of ties into what I was talking about earlier when I was kind of crafting songs in California before the band even started. So Meet You There was a perfect example of that. It was this chorus vocal melody that I'd had since probably like 2014. And then it was kind of written over the span of several years. So then like the breakdown part that sounds real like almost dreamy and like atmospheric, that part came later when I was when I was living in California. And that big dramatic solo section, yeah, that kind of came during that time. And then, but yeah, the main riff and the chorus melody date back to like I said, like 2014. And then when we started the band and Jordan came over and we were working on lyrics, he was really, really inspired by the music and the melody that I had on there. And he just really there's a lot of references to like Valhalla and when you get there, like I'll meet you there. Like there's all these, like when you really dive into it, we try to paint the picture of like this almost like lush, like dreamy place that you go to. Like there's lines about like the lush of the grassy hills and sounds of pounding hooves. And it's almost like European a little bit. You know what I mean? So it's, that was a really cool one. It's got that big, like I said, atmospheric kind of vibe.
I love that. That's really cool. Very good. It's also interesting. I have talked to a lot of musicians the song comes together, but then they're stuck on the title. How do you break that down? Because sometimes, someone will say, I got the title, but I can't find the song. Or, we got the song, we can't find the title. And it doesn't always have to be connected to the song. It just has to work. And I never understand what that means. It just has to work. So, what's the process for Gunshine with that?
Sometimes it can start with a title, but a lot of the times we find the title just by kind of writing the lyrics, and whatnot. But like Meet You There was an example of that. Like when we were writing the lyrics, like Jordan kind of had that concept, like I'll meet you there. And it kind of started with that title. And that's kind of how we were able to expand off of that and kind of create this whole, like I said, like almost Valhalla kind of, experience or whatever. And what else is kind of interesting about that song too is the inspiration I had for the chorus was actually like System of a Down, their song BYOB, and it has that kind of has that vibe a little bit with like the dance beat, and then there's like all these other like there's like some Dio vibes going on as well, and almost like Journey a little bit. It's like System of a Down meets Dio meets Journey. So yeah, that's a really cool song.
Well, you're hitting a lot of greats right there all together. Exactly. Wow. It's also interesting because I often listen to the guitar parts in a song. But is it easy to combine? Sometimes someone will say, well, we did the song and then we just have to add the drums. Because your drummer is out of state, do you do a lot of sending drums back and forth, or how does that work for you as a band?
Yeah, typically the process, I'm kind of like the guy in the band that's, I guess, like the producer in the band. Of course, we have our own. So Chris Collier is the one that actually mix and masters all of our stuff and co-produces it along with me. But I mean, in terms of like demoing stuff out, I'm kind of the guy in the band that has the laptop and the setup and all that. So I love to get my demos like 95% the way that we're going to actually go in and record them. So the way I kind of do it is I'll have the music or the melody, and then I'll program the drums just for the demo, and then I'll typically send it over. Whether it be so like when we first started the band, we had a different drummer, and like I would send him the songs, and then he would kind of just embellish maybe the fills that I might put in there, embellish the parts a little bit, make them sound more like a drummer since I am a guitar player. But I do hear a lot of drum parts in my head, which is why I program them on the demos. But yeah, so they'll just embellish it, and stuff like that. Or it could be sometimes it'll work the opposite where, they might there might be a groove already in place or something like that. But typically that's kind of how the process works.
That's great. You know, when I played What's Done is Done, um, when I played that, I literally saw like a scene in my head, and totally unrelated to your song, but the title made me go to a memory of literally something that I had remembered. What's done is done, kind of a thing. So tell me about that song, because out of a lot of your songs, that one feels very powerful, like it's filled with emotions.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a song that I completely wrote by myself and produced it. It was something that I guess I could have put on a solo album, but I just, because Gunshine is my baby, I thought Jordan would also sound really good singing it. So him and I also kind of go back and forth on the vocals in that song too, because we did want to incorporate some, um, since that was a personal song for me, and we did want to incorporate some of that as well. So in the chorus, I'm singing along with him, and I do the screaming parts at the end, and then I sing lead on the bridge and stuff as well. But it was a really, I was just going through a hard time in my life, and it was something that it's kind of about knowing you have to give something up in life, but it's a really hard decision, and uh, and then you kind of sort of have the moments of regret where you're like, you kind of question yourself, like, well, I really don't know if this is the right decision. There's a line that kind of keeps repeating, and I did that intentionally just to kind of like it, because you say that to yourself a lot when you have to make hard decisions. You're like, I don't know if this is the right decision, but I have to walk down this road to know. So there's a lot of. It was really, just about kind of having to make hard decisions and then live with them either way. And then you can decide later if, okay, let me go back and either fix that or reverse that, or no, I got to continue down this road. And that's kind of why the music, I also tried to incorporate that imagery into the music too. So that's why the song starts off, it's got a very hopeful kind of vibe to it in the chorus, and then it's more like major, and then at the end it almost drops into more of like a Black Sabbath, like kind of a minor vibe, like, and gets kind of more creepy. And the reasoning is because it's like that's that part of the song is like the evolution of like that's where you feel like the regret, so the music gets a lot more dreary and heavier at that point. So you have this like creepy choir in the background that's like, now what's done is done, and it's just kind of like haunting you in your head. So yeah, that was a fun song to write, and it definitely it was really cool, like pulling those emotions out.
It's interesting as I hear you describing it, I wasn't far off. Because when I went back to my memory, I had a memory of walking away from a relationship. And I had what very often people call a separation anxiety. Like, I'm going to miss them, but I can't be with them, or I shouldn't be with them. So I know I'm going to leave them, but I don't want to leave them, but I have to leave them. And then as you say, oh, then you start feeling the guilt or the regret or the not sure, did I do the right thing? That's the piece of it. Like, what's done is done. You almost have to live with that. So that was my memory. And then hearing the way you describe it with the way the song moves, I'm like, okay, I wasn't too far off. It kind of matches a little bit my memory. But it's very powerful, that song, because it evokes emotion for the listener. And that to me is like a huge compliment.
Yeah, no, that means a ton to me. So I appreciate that. You definitely, sensed what I was feeling and going through and stuff. So that's really cool. Yeah, that was like I said, a really fun song to do, and I think it's a different vibe, for the band as well. So I'm glad I did at least, make it a Gunshine song. So
Yeah, so we're going to play What's Done is Done Now. So now the audio engineer will drop it in. We actually have time to talk about Change Today. So we can talk about Change Today. So I wanted to ask you another question, though, about the band. It's interesting because the drummer was the only position of the band that changed. Is that correct?
yeah, well, so we had a bass player early on. Both the original bass player and drummer, they both basically kind of couldn't do the touring thing anymore. Like, kind of wanted to go, and have like the family life, or just, when you're starting a band in the beginning stages, sometimes people have to decide if it's the right thing for them. And then, like younger bands, if they're starting like a band in college, some guys decide like, oh, I'm just gonna go have a normal job or career or whatever. Then, and then other guys continue on. And so, no hard feelings or anything, but yeah, the original guys kind of just couldn't. It just kind of wasn't for them anymore. They just needed to kind of go a different path. So, like I said, we just got our new drummer back in October 2024, but he's a total road dog. He's Tommy Salzberg is his name, and he's got total like passion and energy, and so he's just been a great fit so far. Both him and Jake have been killing it.
That's great. There was another song that I wanted to bring up, and it's called Change Today. So can you tell me a little bit about that song?
Yeah, like we talked about the melodies, so that was a really cool. I remember our producer Chris Collier. He was like, the chorus reminds me of like a boy band melody, so it kind of goes back to what I was talking about earlier. I did kind of grow up on some of that stuff, but I remember I was working out one day, and I always get really inspired like after I work out, because I guess you got the endorphins going or whatever. You feel more like clear headed. So I've come up with a lot of song ideas when I'm in that state, and that was an example of I just heard that chorus melody in my head, and I immediately recorded it into my phone. But the musical bed once again, had already been created before the band was even started. So it's kind of got like an old school GNR feel to it a little bit, like a Rocket Queen kind of vibe a little bit. But The chorus is more like soaring and kind of poppy, I would say. And I'm also really influenced by Boston as well. Boston is like one of my favorite bands, and it kind of has that spaceship like taking off kind of vibe. So we like traveling kind of vibe, and that's what Jordan and I were talking about when we were writing the lyrics. So there's a lot of lines about like the first line of the song, traveling at warp speed. You know, we're lifting off, we're taking off. There's a lot of lines about like like blasting through space, and it kind of had that sort of vibe to it.
That's cool. I just wanted to talk about your upcoming tour, though. And jotted down a few of the dates. And I'm like, oh, it's too bad they're all in Florida and Texas. So you do have some interesting places coming up. I think the dates are February into March, and you're covering several dates for Florida and Texas. Is that correct?
That is correct. We actually start in March, but we're in the process of adding tons of dates right now. So we're going to do a little bit of, the first one's going to be like Florida, then over to Texas, and then we're going to come back and then go back out in April. And then that one's going to be like all Northeast stuff. So we're going to do like New York and like pretty much all the way up the East Coast for April. So uh, that one will be like 2.5 weeks. And then I'm getting married in May, so we're taking May off, and then we're gonna hit it hard again in June through the rest of the year.
Well, first of all, congratulations.
Oh well, thank you.
And second of all, congratulations for planning to include New York, because that means I'll get to see you. I'll come
Yeah.
out to see you. So, with the Northeast tour, who will you be going out with? Are there other bands on the venues or?
We're not sure on support yet, but we are. So we're gonna mostly do kind of headlining stuff this year. We kind of really we wanted to focus on kind of creating in like an arena style show, kind of from the ground up. So we're kind of focusing on building the band as a headliner, but of course, we're always open if a cool like support opportunity comes up as well. But yeah, this year we're really just supporting the new record, and it's going to be a lot of headline stuff. But I'm sure there's going to be some awesome bands on the bill and stuff as well. So always get there early, because there's always, I mean, we've done several opening slots too with like Steel Panther, Buck Cherry, and it's like we always want people to be there early. So
Absolutely. Very good. I wanted to bring up, a lot of the songs that I talked about are from your album that started in 2022. Is that correct?
correct. Yeah, what's done is done. We just kind of kept that one as a single, but yeah, let's see. Swing Away is off the Checkmate EP, and then Change Today and Meet You There are off the first album. So that would be 2022 for the first album.
So to date, you have two albums.
Yeah, we have full length debut album, 10 songs, and then we have a 5-song EP that we put out in 2023. Um, and then we have another full length about to come out, and then we did two singles that were just on their own.
All right, good. So tell me about this new album that's coming out.
This one was really special. I mean, this one it was kind of just another evolution of the band. The biggest thing about the band, and like the way I do things, the way we do things as a band, writing with Jordan and stuff. It's always just write whatever comes out, and we just like having fun creating music. And there's never any like perfect formula, or there's never any like, oh, we got to sound this way. So we definitely get crazy on this album. There's a lot of fun songs. I would say it's a lot more eclectic. Jordan shows off his piano chops a lot more on this album. So actually the next single we're about to put out in let's see, February 13th is called Valentine. And Jordan, it's kind of one of our ballads, I guess you would say. And he plays piano on that one. And that's actually an old song that he had that I kind of produced and added my spin to it. But the lyrics and stuff he had created when he was like 15 or something, which is crazy. But there's a couple ballads. There's an acoustic song. There's one song that's 8 minutes long that is basically like 5 songs in one. So it's like we have like a jazz section, and it keeps like changing vibes or whatever. So, but yeah, this one was really special because it just a lot of song ideas that we have kind of compiled for the last couple years, I would say. And then we flew to Vancouver, Canada to, I think we were talking about it before we started recording here, but to work with producer Brian Howes, who did the first couple Hinder records. He co-wrote a lot of those songs and co-wrote a lot of stuff with Daughtry. Does, let's see, Nickelback, Airborne, Simple Plan. So that was really cool. So he found the band and reached out to us and was like, hey, I'd love to work with you guys. So we flew out to Canada. We did our latest single, Goth Girl, and another song called Single Looks Good on You. We did those two songs out there in Canada with him. And that song, Goth Girl, was actually really unique because, as I mentioned earlier, normally I demo everything out and we get it 95% to how we're going to actually record it. But in the case of Goth Girl, we kind of wrote a lot of it on the spot. So I went in, there was like I had like a melody, a couple of the melodies already, the pre-chorus melody and the verse melody was already there. But then Brian came in with like the chorus idea, and Jordan had some great lyrics and stuff. So, but we did a lot of that in person on the spot, like right before tracking it. So it really created a lot of like spontaneity and kind of magic in the recording process. But, and then from there we flew to Las Vegas to work with Chris Collier, who I've already mentioned. And he's basically like another member of the band. He played bass on the first record and he actually played drums on this record, but he also mixed and mastered everything, co-produced everything. Aside from those two songs we did in Canada, he still did mix and master those two as well. But yeah, so we did that, and then we went to Nashville, and that's where Chris recorded the drums, actually at Ray Luzier's studio from Korn. So yeah, it was a crazy process, but we're super stoked about it. 13 songs, like I said, tons of variety. So can't wait to get that out there.
You are surrounded by a lot of talent.
Oh, definitely.
So you are very lucky. Wow. Well, it is a pleasure to have the opportunity to talk with you, to also promote your upcoming tour, as well as your single, Goth Girl, which we are going to roll out with. Just give me a little bit of your personal feelings about Goth Girl, because it's kind of unique.
Yeah, like I was saying, it was really special how we kind of wrote a lot of it on the spot, and there was a lot of magic with it. And just started off with some kind of almost like Def Leppard inspired, where there's almost two choruses. It was kind of a thing that I had in my phone, like those two pre-chorus melodies, and then I had that in the verse melody. And then, like I said, we got on one Zoom call with Brian, and we had not even met him or anything yet, and he was super stoked on it. And I remember him asking on the Zoom call, he was like, I love those melodies. I love that riff. Jordan, what have you been thinking about lyrically? And Jordan's like, man, I saw one of my friends make a Facebook post like, I really just need a goth girl in my life. So he saved that idea, and then somehow those two things just ended up working together. So then flew to Canada, and we finished writing it on the spot. So it was a really special, fun song. Takes that left turn in the breakdown, and yeah, it's got a lot of energy to it. Just kind of almost like a traveling like highway type of a song.
Very cool. Well, thank you again. Thank you for being on the show. And I look forward to upcoming tour of Gunshine. And we're going to roll out with Goth Girl. Congratulations again on your upcoming nuptials.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. Okay, great. So we recorded 40 minutes of talking, which will be edited down, and then we'll be able to drop in the music.
Awesome. Sweet.
Wow, it is so exciting for you. So is this the same person that you were with in California? Because you said you had a fiance when you were in California.
Oh, yes. Yeah,
Okay,
absolutely.
so it's the same person.
Yeah.
All right, good. Because I'm like, oh, he's a songwriter. There may be a different person in here.
No, yeah, same person. So.
Wow, very
Yeah.
good. So it sounds like you've stuck it out, huh?
Yeah, well, it's so. Wait, we're not recording anymore, right?
No, it's
Okay,
off.
okay.
It's off.
But yeah, no. So she was the one that actually kind of part of like how I wrote the "What's Done Is Done" thing. That was so
Hmm.
we kind of separated for a little bit, but then got back together. So
Yeah.
we met so young though. It was like we were I was only 21 when we moved to California, and
Oh,
so
wow, yeah.
we've known each other for 10 years now. So
Yeah. Yeah, that's
been
wild.
together.
I know. That song reminded me, like just like how I said, when you walk away from someone and you're like, whew, because it's too heavy. But then the minute you walk away, you have that separation anxiety, like I'm gonna miss them. But it's like, oh, it's horrible.
It was, yeah, it was
At least,
crazy.
at least for me, my experience was like, I felt guilty for leaving, but then when I left, I was like, "Oh, I'm less stressed. I'm less." But it was like it's like when you leave. I have two cats. They look at me like you're leaving. It's like separation anxiety. Yeah.
Crazy. Like I had never gone through anything like that before in my life. That was definitely the craziest thing. But
Yeah, but at
yeah,
least for you, you came back circle. Yeah.
yeah, and
It,
I
it
just,
doesn't always do. That doesn't always happen.
yeah, I know, and it's, it's just one of those things where I immediately realize, it's like when you do something like that, then you start to realize like, oh yeah, the dating scene is is
Oh gosh.
might not be all what it's cracked up to be, and then you kind
No.
of realize like maybe what you had and stuff like that. So
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Very good. Well, I wish you the best. I'm going to continue to brag about you, which is easy to do.
thanks for having me. This was fun.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. So, you'll see I'll start tagging you on things and then I follow you, you follow me, I promote you, you promote me. That's just how it goes.
Yep,
So
absolutely.
yeah, you'll see, you'll see. But I was just at NAM. Are you guys going to get to NAM at all? Like next
Yeah,
year?
you know what's funny? I worked like 5 NAMs with Boss actually.
Oh, wow.
And
Okay, cool.
so I did NAM 2020, and that was like the last big one that they had. Then
Yep.
everything shut down. But then, so last year we did go though as a band. We flew out there just to
Okay.
hang out. So I wasn't working last year. We went out there as Gunshine just to kind of make the rounds and
Oh,
stuff. But
wow. Yeah.
it was so wild just going out
Yes.
there last year. So
Yes. Yeah. I had a band on my show. They're called Too Hot for Leather. They're out of Nashville. They're kind of like hard rock. They actually played the Hilton stage.
okay,
Yeah, so they're a newer band, but it was cool. And when I interviewed them, they were like, we applied. And I was there with a media badge, which I had to apply for. So a lot of the newer bands are just applying, and
yeah,
they get in. I also interviewed a guy named CK Smile. He's with, it's like a dramatic band called Colostrum, if you ever look him up. But he also played at NAMM. So there's
okay.
a lot. There's a lot there. So if you really want to do it, you can do it, kind of a thing.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a crazy experience out there. There's just so many people.
Yes, yes, yes. But a lot of the guys that were playing live have been on my show. So I had like Marco Mendoza and Doug Aldrich, and they were like, we got the Snakes over here, we got the Motley
That's
Crue guys
amazing.
here. Yeah, and it's like, and it's a reunion for me because they recognize me from doing the show, and then yeah, it's a
Yeah,
lot of fun. Yeah.
that's
Wow.
incredible.
Wow. Well, I give you a big hug over Zoom. You take care of yourself, okay?
Absolutely. You too. Thanks
Yes.
again.
Thank you. Take care. Bye
All right.
bye.
Talk to you later.
Bye.